What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Brandon, and in today's video we're taking a look at a welder that's been popping up all over Amazon, the Sefaspe MMA205-SE. Out of the box we get the stinger, we get the ground clamp, we get the welder itself, which is pretty important if you're buying a welder, that the welder comes in the box. The welder is wired 110, but it comes with a 110 to 220 adapter. You get a little welding mask in case you don't have a welding helmet yet. You get 5 60-13 welding rods, that way you can weld straight out of the box. You get a brush and a hammer for cleaning the slag off of your welds. And last but not least, you get a user manual and a little quality control piece of paper letting you know that this was inspected and passed by their quality team. This little inverter welder comes loaded with IGBT technology, hot start, arc force, and anti-stick, making this thing more user-friendly for people like me that don't do a whole lot of stick welding. It also has a digital readout letting you know whether you're plugged into 110 or 220. Now that we know what features this machine comes with, let's set up a test piece and see what this welder can do. Alright, got my test coupon set up. We're going to be using 1-inch thick beveled plate. We're going to do a 60-13 root, which this came in the box. We're set up at 97 amps, which according to my little, my tack welds and stuff, that looked pretty good. We'll start there. If we need to go hotter, we'll go hotter. And then we'll break out the 70-18. Let's go ahead, throw this 60-13 root, and get started. Alright, after cleaning up the weld, this is what it looks like. It's pretty good for not stick welding very much. I lifted here. I stopped here. I was testing the hot start, or the stick, and I lifted, and then I didn't clean the slag off before I went back down in. I had to switch electrodes here because I ran out of electrode halfway through. And then here I kept lifting. This was hand position, and my left hand was blocking my right hand from being able to move down, so I kept lifting. And then I finally got my hand broke free and then finished out here. Now that we know what 60-13 can do on that root pass, which looked pretty good in my opinion for not stick welding a whole lot, we're going to test out 70-18. This is the rod I use all the time on my Yes welder. I have this machine set up per the electrode requirements, which is electrode positive. My last Sefaspe review, after talking with Sefaspe, I went out and verified the machine was set up the correct way. because that was their advice, was make sure you're welding electrode positive or per the manufacturer recommendation, which for the Hobart 7018, it's electrode positive. If I run into any issues, I will reverse the polarity and see if I run into the same issues. But let's go ahead, set the machine, and lay a weld down. All right, we're gonna go a little hotter, 120 amp, 7018. Let's go. Ooh, that's a hot electrode. Cooking that electrode. That's a little too hot. All right, there is the 7018 pass. I had to stop right there and switch my electrode because it was cooking it. I started back up with a new electrode and I went a little slower and started having issues right here with my electrode. It started glowing cherry red and it started sputtering on me, which is, you can tell, no slag to all that slag starting to build up. I pushed through. By the end here, I could not weld anymore. It actually cut the flame. All right, we're gonna do one more weld with the 7018, and then we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna go with a lower amperage to see if that helps with it cooking the rod, and we'll see how that weld turns out. So let's go ahead and dial this back. Let's go down to, let's go like 90 and see what that does. Alright, I should have called it quits. With the lower amperage, it was actually moving the puddle really well. I had more control of it. And then my arm was resting on the workpiece and it started to get hot, so I arced out. And then I went to start and it just stuck. And I left it on there a little too long and I welded the rod to the piece. Alright guys, I call that a success. Even though we had a failure, that was my fault, not the machine's fault. I don't care what you say, no matter what technology you say a welder has, it's not going to prevent that. If you're new to welding or a hobby welder like me and you're just looking for a cheap option to get started in welding, or you just want a cheap backup option, I recommend the MMA205-SE by Sefaspe. For $140, I give this a thumbs up. I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can check this machine out on Amazon. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave a comment down below letting me know what you think of the Sefaspe MMA205-SE. Thanks for watching.